Hi there, Coach Sage of SageRunning.com here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about my college running experience, or what you could expect maybe running after formal high school, maybe in an adult club or in your collegiate system, whether it's Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA, club intramural team at university, things like that. And the experience is going to vary, so I'm just going to share my story real quick, because I know a lot of you out there are young whippersnappers, maybe interested in running in school, or you run for a school and you want to compare college experience, just some basic things I learned. So to start off, when you're in high school, and this is a quote from someone, I don't know who it's from, but to start off, when you're in high school, you think you're fast and smart. When you're in college, you realize that you are slow and dumb. That might be a little bit of a rough way to look at it, but it was kind of true for me. And I came out of a pretty competitive high school class. I was competing back in the state of Oregon. Guys like Galen Rupp were the same class and same year as me, so he was state champion. I was way back, getting 13th at state in cross country. Never made states in track. I did run the equivalent of about a 9:22, 9:23 2-mile. In high school, I was an 8:46 3K runner, as well as a 15:17 5K runner. Had more success in cross country than the track, but colleges do look at your track times, because they're not going to vary. They're not going to be short. They're not going to be hilly. They're not going to have mud, things like that. Cross country times, sometimes you have to throw time out the window and go by place, what you place in your conference, what you place in your region or state, if you make Foot Locker or nationals, things like that. Whereas track times you could compare directly. What's your 1600 meter time? What's your 1500 meter time? What's your 2-mile or 3200 meter time? So, colleges do look at that, and that's part of the recruiting process for sure, as well as academics. And for me, I wanted to go to a really stimulating academic institution. Even though I was on the West Coast, I was looking at East Coast schools. My older brother also went to an East Coast school. So I was really lucky. I was able to get accepted to Cornell University, which is a Division I program. I also looked at Division III programs and Division II programs as well, but I went there for the academics mainly. That's why I wanted to get my college degree. Generous financial aid package too. I was very fortunate to get that, because college is very expensive, especially nowadays. So those are all factors, as well as a campus visit, being able to see talk to athletes on the team currently, as well as visit there in high school, see what the weather's like, see what the campus is like, see what the dining hall food's like, things like that. So I got thrown in right away. Right after I graduated high school, I went to summer school on campus, and that was kind of a mistake, because I only had 2 weeks off after high school graduation. That made it really hard. That made the transition hard, as well as being all the way across the country, all the way across the US. It was a good 5-6 hour series of plane flights home. Not cheap to fly across the country in the US. Very far. My parents didn't see campus until I graduated college 5 years later, so I was kind of all by myself out there, and I struggled a lot initially my freshman year with that adjustment of being homesick, as well as totally pigging out on the all-you-could-eat dining halls. I had a full meal plan, and there's a ton of stuff at the buffet, healthy stuff and unhealthy stuff. And what I learned was, when I was stressed out with academics, harder classes, I would tend to eat a lot more unhealthy food. And I was vegetarian, but I'd eat 3 waffles for breakfast, these giant Belgian style waffles. There'd be donuts out on the weekends. You could eat ice cream all the time, soda pop, Coke, you name it, in the fountain machines. There's no one to stop you what you ate. So, a typical dinner would be 10 slices of cheese pizza. Instead of gaining the freshman 15 pounds in the first year, they call it freshman 15 here in the States at least, I gained about 20 pounds of mostly fat in a matter of 2 or 3 months. That did not go well with my running. I've always been a pretty light guy, but I could tell it was from eating really unhealthy and being stressed out, not practicing the same things that I had been at home, or that I do now as a much older person. But yeah, the dining halls, all you could eat, you could really overindulge if you're not careful, and if you don't eat a varied diet. So a lot of athletic teams, you could consult maybe a nutritionist, some expert at your school, as well as common sense. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Don't eat a ton of overly sweet desserts. All you could eat pizza every night, even though it's very delicious. Make sure you get in the nutrients you need, though, as well as the vitamins. The other thing is, I actually got low on iron and was overtraining. So big jump from high school to college. High school I was running 50, 60 miles a week tops, maybe up to 70 miles a week my senior year, but mostly 40, 50 miles a week. College, I'm trying to run 80, 90 miles a week that summer highest mileage I've ever run in my life. I didn't get injured. A lot of guys will get injured trying to jump up their mileage that fast, and my coach knew I was a high mileage guy, but I was expected to be top 10, maybe top 7 varsity that year, going into cross country season my freshman year. We don't redshirt in the Ivy League, so I had to compete, but I barely made the team. I would have been cut if I wasn't a recruit, because here I'd eaten unhealthy, gained some fat, but also was overtrained and kind of semi-anemic, iron deficiency anemic. You also lose a lot of red blood cells through the pounding of your foot on the pavement or even on trails. And I'd done this slow build-up over the summer, 89 miles a week, felt pretty good, but was still gaining weight on it and getting lower red blood cell count, things like that, not eating enough healthy nutrients basically, and being stressed out, that also doesn't help. That I came into the tryouts, we had to run this 4K time trial, and I ran 12:48 for 4K, which was a lot slower than what I could do in high school. And I was one of the last guys on the team. Basically, we would do tryouts, and we would cut people that couldn't really run the equivalent of a 15:30 5K. This is a Division I, NCAA Division I program, so it was fairly cutthroat and fairly good. We had a lot of really good guys on the team. A lot of my teammates were state champions. We had some 407 milers, some 910 2-miler type of guys on the team, and so I was back of the pack freshman year, and I was really not happy. I wanted to go home. I wanted to transfer. I wanted to drop out. Academics were really hard. GPA was shot. It was very stressful learning to control your time, the time you spend running, the time you spend eating, the time you spend studying and then socializing, and just adjusting to all these things in a different environment. Living in a dorm with public shared bathrooms and roommates and all you could eat dining halls and all this stuff. But the team is a real source of friendship and companionship and people you could relate to. So, over the years, I eventually adapted. I started eating more healthy, and by sophomore year, I had improved from running 27:30 for 8K on the old Van Cortlandt Park course in New York City to running 25:30 or 25:27 that year. So almost a 2-minute improvement over 8K or 5 miles. It was a 5-mile course actually, in New York City, and then eventually being able to run 24:59 as a junior and 24:41 as a senior on that same course, which is kind of a hilly course, and get second at conference as well as win conference in the 10,000 meters on the track. I wasn't as much of a track runner as a cross country runner, as well as qualify for the Olympic trials that year, my junior year in college. So the improvement after I got healthy, ate healthy, and had a lot of friends on the team, as well as lived in a track house off campus, and balanced my academics with sleep, getting enough sleep, eating healthy. Then the training clicked. Things started clicking. I was running well over 120 miles a week. We were a pretty high mileage program, so we had a lot of guys on the team running over 100 miles a week. But every year someone would get hurt. Someone would get a stress fracture. Someone would get mono. Someone would eat unhealthy, either not eat enough or eat too much unhealthy calories, things like that, as well as getting sickness, flus, cold throughout the fall season, or indoor track even in the spring. So a lot of times in these schools you have to compete all 3 seasons, especially on the East Coast. So I'm gonna hit this little okay. So I did cross country all fall, indoor track all winter, and then outdoor track all spring. And granted, I wasn't much of an indoor track runner. The longest event was a 5K. I did run 14:29 5K indoors, but that was more of a base building season for outdoors. And sometimes we burned it too hot indoors all January, February, March. By the time I got to outdoors, I was fried and tanked at conference. But other years when I did it right, I was able to peak in May for outdoor conference and carry that fitness over to running a summer marathon in June, and then taking a break, but then building base all summer, because summer was the big base building phase. But you will learn in college, you do have to train at a much higher level. The competition is much more fierce, and there's a lot of really great runners out there, as well as really great students. So academically, you will be challenged as well. Socially, you will be challenged as well. It's kind of a tough transition in life sometimes for a lot of people, I think, because here you're 18, 19 years old, coming out of high school, and you could be going to public high school like me, or some private high school, or some weird special homeschooled, I don't know, And then you get thrown into this university environment where you have people from all over the world, from diverse backgrounds, maybe not. Maybe you're going to a school with 2,000 students, maybe you have 40,000 students. Cornell was about, I think, 14,000 undergrads, so pretty big campus, but not super small. And I really enjoyed my years running collegiately at the NCAA level. It also helps to have a good coach that you click with. My coach was Robert Rojo Johnson, the co-founder of Let'sRun.com, and I used to joke with him the website was the biggest recruiting tool for me to run for his program, because he had this article on his training philosophy, and it really meshed with what I thought was good at the time and what I still think is good, and it was very influential, and he really mentored me and my teammates to not only just to improve as runners, but also to improve as students and as human beings. So it was a really nice time in my life, and it really built the background for enjoying a life of running, as well as being able to work on all sorts of things: social skills, communication class, digital media, things like that, marketing, business marketing, even biochemistry, nutrition, all the other classes I dabbled in, but I digress there. So yeah, you get the most out of your college experience by how much effort you apply to it. And you could sleep in and be lazy and watch a bunch of TV and play a bunch of video games and skip classes and things like that. But if you're paying a lot for tuition, which most people probably are, then you need to try to probably absorb or take advantage of all the resources you have available at that time in your life, because campus could be an amazing place for resources, from having top-notch libraries and professors to classmates, and just studying what you're interested in and being able to think critically and solve problems rather than just regurgitating information, memorizing information, as well as finding out who you are as a person, what your passions are, and maybe improving your running if you're doing running through college, and maybe you're just doing it for fitness. But it's a great way to stay in shape and to stay mentally sharp, and a very rewarding process to see that progression and to have that self-discipline. You have the self-discipline of going to practice and running and training hard and doing tough workouts, mentally challenging yourself, physically challenging yourself. That carries over sometimes into other aspects of your life, structuring your day, time management, structuring how well you study for exams and work on class projects and things like that. So apply yourself. You get out of it what you put into it, as cliche as that sounds. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below. I'll try to get back to some of them this time. But thanks so much for all your support on here. Hope your running's going well, and definitely stay tuned for more Sage Running videos.